Marcus from Basic Rights Oregon coming up. And everyone give her a big round of applause, please.
Tell you what, this is possibly the most beautiful sight I've seen in Portland ever since I've moved here. You're all beautiful. And I want you to know that, I always say to never underestimate the ingenuity, the strength, and the determination of the transgender community. Thank you for being here. Thank you. My name is Andrew Ezekias. I'm the Policy Director for Basic Rights Oregon, where I lead this Transgender Justice Program, and I'm also coordinating this Transgender Justice Working Group, where we're working towards lived and legal equality for transgender Oregonians in every community, every county, and every corner of this state. Now first, I want to say that even though the transgender community is no stranger to the tragedies that come from the culture of violence, as we can see today, this Trans Pride March is an opportunity to celebrate our shared resiliency. This movement for transgender rights and justice is one of resiliency, full of individual stories, survival, stories of hope, stories of community and connection, and that power can be seen right here today. So, Basic Rights Oregon is 20 years old. In the years since, Oregon has become one of the most friendly states in the nation for transgender and gender non-binary persons. And thanks to the hard work and the support of people like you, Oregonians have won non-discrimination in housing, employment, and public accommodations. They've fought and won on transgender inclusive health care, and they banned the practice of youth conversion therapy, but the work is not over. We hear at Basic Rights Oregon from transgender people from around the state who report discrimination in the workplace and are struggling to get access to gender-affirming care. And we continue to see well-coordinated attacks nationwide on LGBT people, and they're targeting the transgender community. Oregon must continue to lead and fight not only for legal but lived equality for transgender people. So, Basic Rights Oregon has relaunched this Fair Workplace Project because 90% of transgender people still report harassment and discrimination in the workplace. And the Fair Workplace Project will provide employers the tools and resources they need to create fair and affirming workplaces for transgender and non-binary people so we can have jobs. And then I'll finish up. And Basic Rights Oregon continues to work alongside dedicated champions for transgender health care to build off past victories and push for better overall health care for transgender gender non-binary people, which is gender affirming and culturally competent. Thank you for your courage of being here, and thank you for being here, and thank you for your time.
Thanks so much, Andrea. Next, we're going to be hearing from Patrick Orr with the Cascade AIDS Project Bridges to Work program.
Hello, everyone. It's an honor to be here today. As I just said, I'm from Cascade AIDS Project. We are the... Oh, can you hear me now? All right, that's better. Thank you. So I'm from CAP, which is Cascade AIDS Project. We are the largest HIV and AIDS service organization in Oregon and Southwest Washington. Some of you might know that already, but what few people know is that we have an employment program called Bridges to Work. And of course it's open to individuals that are HIV positive, but it is also open to the trans community, regardless of your HIV status. Our employment coordinator can't be here today, but their name is Effie Stansberry, and they're really excited and motivated to help people find not only jobs, but get connected with education, get vocational training, and also pursue SSI or SSDI if that is something that works for you. So if any of that information sounds interesting to you and you want more information, please look us up on our website, www.cascadeaids.org, or come talk to me. I'll stand somewhere right over there. Okay? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Very important work. All right. Yes, our next keynote speaker is going to be Julie McKenna. And but before that, I want to let everyone know about these pieces of paper that I'm carrying. as part of our program this year, trying to connect trans people at this march with different organizations that they can organize with that can help them. We have partnered with a lot of different groups that are going to be at Pride, both at the pavilion and around the city. And in order to help you locate them, we have these maps floating around. There's going to be some more of them passed out later on. It is a map of our parade route and of the Pride Pavilion. Every star on here is an organization that if you go to their booth, they will welcome you, and you can talk to them about how they can help you and how you can help them. In addition, if you go to our Facebook page, we posted a link to an online map. If you're on mobile right now, you can go onto Facebook, click on the link, and you will be able to see that on your phone. So without further ado, I want to invite Julia up to talk to us.
Hello everyone, thank you for having me here today. I'm going to talk about trans access to shelter, and I've been working on this topic for over 2 years now. I did my Master of Public Policy research on best practices for serving LGBT people experiencing homelessness, houselessness, housing insecurity. So I'm going to read a little bit from this, and I'm going to have a lot of materials, and I'll be sticking around at the Trans Unity booth, so please come up and talk to me. So the LGBT community is no stranger to homelessness. 40% of homeless youth are LGBT, and from a 2012 report, Injustice at Every Turn, 23% of trans Oregonians reported being houseless because of their gender identity or gender expression. And I wanted to first cover some of the experiences of homelessness and houselessness that people might not immediately think of as being under that experience. So it includes living in overcrowded housing, couch surfing, living in motels or hotels, living in campgrounds, staying in emergency or transitional shelters, living out of a car, living in a park, living in public spaces, living in abandoned buildings, living in substandard or structurally unsound housing, and living in bus or train stations or other similar settings. So I would like to see everyone raise their hand if they've experienced, for any amount of time, any one of those experiences in the crowd. So, to me, this is the #1 issue that we have, is poverty and homelessness as a trans community, and that's all related to our experiences in school, being bullied and harassed, and experiencing the same in the job market, and the same when we apply for different housing programs. So my main objective is to at the very least, make shelters be trans accessible. And so I've been working with HUD, Housing and Urban Development, the Fair Housing Council of Oregon, Basic Rights Oregon, and a couple of other housing agencies across the state to really focus on this from a policy standpoint, and to really make it something that is implemented. Because in Oregon, under fair housing, LGBT status is covered as a protected class, but that hasn't been implemented all the way through to make shelters, which actually do qualify as dwellings regardless of who runs the shelter. So they haven't fully implemented that and haven't really carried out the policy. And so the exciting part is that HUD in March released new guidelines, or updated guidance from 2012 rules, to really spell out and make it very explicit and very clear that shelters are supposed to be trans accessible, and people are supposed to be able to access shelters according to their gender identity and not according to sex assigned at birth or whatever physical genitalia a person might have. And even if their identification doesn't match their gender identity, they're still supposed to be able to access shelter according to their gender identity. And similar guidance was released from the Department of Justice on this topic as well, really clarifying that trans people in prisons are not supposed to be placed in the prison that coincides with sex assigned at birth. They're supposed to be placed according to their gender identity. So this is a really big moment, and this guidance is just come out in March, and HUD released a bunch of new guidebooks and different training materials. So I've been working with different organizations to really make sure that this goes all the way from the policy to the implementation, because a lot of times we have really nice policies that don't actually end up getting implemented, and people actually can't access the services that they're really entitled to. And good. Okay. Thanks. So I wanted to make sure that I'm. Okay. So one of the main things that I wanted to make sure that I really stressed today was to really express gratitude to all of the members of the trans community, because we're no strangers to homelessness. A lot of us have experienced a variety of the different experiences that I listed at the beginning, and we've really, because we haven't been able to access shelters and we haven't been able to access services, we've really been the ones taking care of our own community, letting people stay on our couches, reaching out and calling shelters to see what their policies are ahead of time. Really, we've been there for each other as a community, and I wanted to make sure that I really thanked everyone, because it might seem, routine and you don't even think about doing it, but it's actually a very important part of keeping people safe and keeping people alive, is providing that emergency care that we need as a community. And so I'm hoping to be able to talk with whoever wants to talk to me at the booth later, at the Trans Unity booth. And so since I'm working with HUD, we're working on how we can really roll out and implement this policy. And a big part of that for me is to make sure that this work is centering on the people who have experienced, who have this lived experience and who are currently having this lived experience. And so I'm going to really be advocating that we hold listening sessions, that trans people with experiences of homelessness and houselessness are going to be paid for their work, paid for their offering their stories. And so I really want to kind of put out a call ahead of time that we're going to be asking people to really share what your experience has been with homelessness, with poverty, what different experiences of discrimination have you faced here in Portland trying to access shelter or other social services. So please get in touch with me. You can find me on Facebook, Julia McKenna, or Oregon LGBTQ Study at Facebook, and I'll have plenty of materials at the table for you to talk to me later. But yeah, I really just wanted to express gratitude and express excitement that there's this policy from HUD that has given an extra push to really be able to advocate for this, really be able to roll out this policy and to apply it to not only HUD-funded shelters, but really to have it be the standard across all the different shelters in Oregon. And a last point with that is I also want to make sure that I explicitly ask for faith leaders and members of the LGBT community that are part of churches, who are part of affirming churches, that they reach out to me and get in touch to really talk about how we can partner with different faith-based shelters and really, get them up to speed and make the shelters be accessible for everyone, regardless of what agency is responsible for it. So with that, thank you so much, and see you around.